Every breath we drew was hallelujah. All right, we are in chapter 4. It's going to get good. Quick recap. Nephi and Lehi and the Lehi's family left Jerusalem. Lehi sent Nephi and Laman. Laman, Lemuel, Nephi, and Sam, but not in that order age-wise, back to get the plates. They failed twice, lost all of their riches. An angel appeared and promised all of them that they'd be able to, that the Lord would deliver Laban into their hands. Nephi was the only one who decided to go in and call him on that promise. And so we begin. And it came to pass that I spake unto my brethren, saying, Let us go up again unto Jerusalem, and let us be faithful in keeping the commandments of the Lord. For behold, he is mightier than all the earth. Then why not mightier than Laban, and his 50? Yea, or even than his tens of thousands. If you remember, Laman and Lemuel's argument was like, he can control 50 people. Yea, he can slay 50 people. This is ridiculous. We're 4 people. So he's tens of thousands, not an issue. Therefore, let us go up. Let us be strong like unto Moses. For he truly spake unto the waters of the Red Sea, and they divided hither and thither. And our fathers came through out of the land of captivity on dry ground, and the armies of Pharaoh were likely washed away. But we'll find out on the next page. The armies of Pharaoh did follow and were drowned in the waters of the Red Sea. Lovely. Now behold, ye know that this is true, and ye also know that an angel hath spoken it unto you. Wherefore can ye doubt? That's just an interesting one. Wherefore can ye doubt? I'm marking that. It kind of comes back to the faith thing that we talked about last time. Wherefore can ye doubt? Well, if you don't have faith, you don't know things. Even if you see them, even if they're proven to you. Nephi's like, wherefore can ye doubt? He can't believe it. And a lot of us can't. They saw an angel. Why did Laman and Lemuel turn bad? Spoiler alert. They didn't have faith. And they were having a hard time, but still they chose. Anyways, wherefore can ye doubt? Let us go up, for the Lord is able to deliver us, even as our fathers, and to destroy Laban, even as the Egyptians. Now, when I had spoken these words, they were yet wroth, and did still continue to murmur. Nevertheless, they did follow me until we came without the walls of Jerusalem, and it was by night. And I caused that they should hide themselves without the walls. And after they did hide themselves, I, Nephi, crept into the city, and went forth towards the house of Laban. And I was led by the Spirit, not knowing beforehand the things which I should do. How nerve-wracking is that? You're probably wanted in this city. You've been chased out by the magistrate twice, being called thieves. Just wanders the city. Nevertheless, I went forth, and as I came near the house of Laban, I beheld a man, and he had fallen to the earth before me, for he was drunken with wine. And when I came to him, I found that it was Laban. Laban's just passed out drunk. And this is an interesting part. So this is a miracle. This is a fulfillment of prophecy. And Nephi's like, and I beheld his sword, and I drew it forth from the sheath thereof, and the hilt thereof was of pure gold, and the workmanship was exceedingly fine. And I saw that the blade thereof was of the most precious steel. And he's just, he's in the middle of this thing where he's just, it's a covert mission. A miracle's just happened, and Nephi's just like, look at this sword. The hilt is of the finest gold, and the blade was the most precious steel. Oh, the workmanship was exceedingly fine. Look at it, beautiful sword. So Nephi's sitting there, Laman's at his feet, and he's like, oh, he pulls the sword out of his, oh, look at this sword. Lord, did you see this sword? It's beautiful. As a side note, going to my theory that Laban collected royal artifacts, a sword like this would have been a king's sword. Not this one, but the one Laban had. Though, if I had to guess, I would guess it was one similar to this. In style. Maybe different cross guards, some different, obviously, patterns. More fine workmanship. But anyways, Nephi's like, look at this sword! And God's like, you should kill him. And he's like, what? Yeah. Nephi is excited about the sword, and this sword will actually play a big part in coming Nephite history. So, look at this sword, the most precious steel, and it came to pass that I was constrained by the Spirit that I should kill Laban. He's like, whoa! And I said in my heart, never at any time have I shed the blood of a man. And I shrunk, and would that I might not slay him. And the Spirit said unto me again, Behold, the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Yea, and I also knew that he had sought to take away mine own life. Yea, and he would not hearken unto the commandments of the Lord. And he also had taken away our property. And this is an interesting thing. Under the law, Nephi is actually justified here. Laban has robbed them and attempted to kill them. The death penalty is actually valid within Israelite law for something like this. So legally, technically, as far as the law and the law of the Lord goes, Nephi's cool here. It is killing him, and Nephi is not excited to do that. And it came to pass that the Spirit said unto me again, Slay him, for the Lord hath delivered him into thy hands. Behold, this is interesting, the Lord slayeth the wicked to bring forth his righteous purposes. It is better that one man should perish than that a nation should dwindle and perish in unbelief. This is fascinating to me, just because we're in a war with the adversary at all times. It's limited resources on both sides. God is omnipotent, all-powerful. I don't know for sure if he's omnipresent, if he can be everywhere at once. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past him. But I don't think his angels are. And I know the devil isn't. Which means there's limited resources on both sides that are being allocated to this war. It's not a war for land. It's not a war for resources. It's a war for souls. It's a war for the hearts of the children of men, which is just interesting that he says this here, because essentially what Nephi is doing is he's condemning Laban to have no chance to repent. He's killing him. He's a wicked man, and he's got a lot of power. And Nephi is condemning him, and the Lord is giving the green light and saying it's better that one man should perish than that thousands should be led into unbelief, or however he says it. Should dwindle than that a nation should dwindle and perish in unbelief. It's better that Laban should die. And that's a heavy truth. That's a hard one. And the Lord set it up so, Nephi is good with the law, at least with the pure nature of the law. I imagine the magistrates would have a different thing to say at this point, but they're wicked enough to be on the brink of being wiped out within the next year or two. I think the next 6 months. Anyways, and when I, Nephi, had heard these words, I remembered the words of the Lord, which he spake unto me in the wilderness, saying that inasmuch as thy seed shall keep the commandments, they shall prosper in the land of promise. Yea, and I also thought that they could not keep the commandments of the Lord according to the law of Moses, save they should have the law. He needs these records. And I also knew that the law was engraven upon the plates of brass. And again I knew that the Lord had delivered Laban into my hands for this cause, that I might obtain the records according to his commandments. Therefore I did obey the voice of the Spirit, and took Laban by the hair of the head, and smote off his head with his own sword. And after I had smitten off his head with his own sword, I took the garments of Laban. He says after, but it seems like the garments would be pretty messed up. I wonder if he did a little bit of stripping before cutting off Laban's head, but hard to know. You wouldn't want to wear bloody robes. So he took Laban's clothes, and put them upon my own body, yea, even every whit. And I did gird my armor about my loins. He's wearing armor. This is kind of cool. This is something, if you see depictions of Laban, they also often depict him as like fat and like this big magistrate. Hold on. Just this big magistrate guy. You need the collar to do the chin catch. Anyways, this big fat king ruler type of guy, but it seems he was roughly the same build as Nephi, which might put my earlier theory of Nephi being very young to bed. He must have been mid to late teens at least, and very large for that age. And he kills Laban, and he looks enough like Laban to pass. So he puts on Laban's clothes. They were roughly the same body type. They had to be. And after I had done this, I went forth to the treasury of Laban. And as I went forth towards the treasury of Laban, behold, I saw the servant of Laban, who had the keys of the treasury. And I commanded him in the voice of Laban that he should go with me to the treasury. This is just like a D&D session. This is rolling deception hard. He's impersonating. They must have been similar. And I spake unto him as if it had been Laban. And I also spake unto him that I should carry the engravings which were upon the plates of brass to my elder brethren, who were without the walls. And I also bade him that he should follow me. And he, supposing that I spake of the brethren of the church, and that I was truly that Laban whom I had slain, wherefore he did follow me. And he spake unto me many times concerning the elders of the Jews, as I went forth unto my brethren, who were without the walls. And it came to pass that when Laman saw me, he was exceedingly frightened, and also Lemuel and Sam. And they fled before my presence, for they supposed that it was Laban, and that he had slain me, and had sought to take away their lives also. So he fools his brothers too. And it came to pass that I called after them, and they did hear me. Wherefore they did cease to flee from my presence. And it came to pass that when the servants of Laban beheld my brethren, when the servant of Laban beheld my brethren, he began to tremble, and was about to flee from before me and return to the city of Jerusalem. So the servants with him, his brothers start running away because they think it's Laban. He's like, hold on, in his own voice. And suddenly the servant of Laban is like, oh, this isn't Laban. And he starts to run. And now I, Nephi, being a man large in stature, again, he's huge, and also having received much strength from the Lord, therefore I did seize upon the servant of Laban and held him that he should not flee. So he tackles him, holds him down, and it came to pass that I spake with him, that if he would hearken unto my words, as the Lord liveth, and even as I live, even so, that if he would hearken unto the words which we would spare his life. And I spake unto him, even with an oath, that he need not fear, that he should be a free man like unto us, that if he would go down into the wilderness with us, down into the wilderness with us. So you're going to be part of the promised land, he says to this guy, this random servant. And I don't know how this went. I wonder if the servant and he were somewhat friendly. The servant obviously talks, his name is Zoram, as a side note. So Zoram obviously talks Nephi's ear off, thinking he's Laban while they're going off, and Nephi's trying to answer all these questions as if he's Laban, and he mentions here, he's like, this was difficult, this was a hard thing, because he kept talking to me about stuff that I should know, and I had to BS my way through it till I reached there. So he talks to Zoram, and I don't know if he liked him, or if he just had to do this, if it was necessity or fondness or whatever else, but he says, come with us. Join us. Be a part of the children of Israel in the Americas, in the new promised land. So, he says this to Zoram, and I spake saying, surely the Lord hath commanded us to do this thing, and shall we not be diligent in keeping the commandments of the Lord? Therefore, if thou wilt go down unto the wilderness to my father, thou shalt have place with us. And it came to pass that Zoram did take courage at the words which I spake. Now Zoram was the name of the servant, and he promised that he would go down into the wilderness unto our father. Yea, and he also made an oath unto us that he would tarry with us from that time forth. Now we were desirous that he should tarry with us for this cause, that the Jews might not know concerning our flight into the wilderness, lest they should pursue us and destroy us. And it came to pass that when what? When Zoram had made an oath unto us, our fears did cease concerning him. He must have been a trustworthy dude. And it came to pass that we took the plates of brass and the servant of Laban and departed into the wilderness and journeyed unto the tent of our father. So there's a couple new things here. First of all, an extra reason that Laban and Lemuel cannot leave. And that is that they're now wanted. Laban tried to kill them twice, and then he showed up stripped without his armor, without his head. Sorry, stripped of his armor without his head. Big deal. He's dead. No one knows who did it. And this is the reason they couldn't let Zoram go, was because he could say, hey, remember Nephi and Lehi and all that crazy old prophet? It was him, and they went that way. And they would not have made it far after that. There would have been, a hunt after him. So they had to stop that from happening. But I kind of get the impression that Nephi just liked Zoram as well. Like, maybe he could have shaken him before he got to the walls. I don't know. I don't know if Zoram was originally a part of the plan, like of God's plan for Nephi and them, but he became a part, and he became a friend to Nephi. It's just an interesting thing, the way that went. and he seems like a trustworthy guy. Nephi doesn't worry about him after he gives his word. But yeah, we get a whole tribe. Now later on in the Book of Mormon, there's two more Zorims. This gets confusing because there's a people called the Zoramites in the Book of Alma. We'll get to that, but they're bad dudes. They do bad things. But that's because there's a Zoram who's been born, who's been leading them at that time, who's a bad guy. And in a really confusing turn of events, there's also another Zoram at that same time period who's righteous. So there's righteous Zoram from 600 years ago, or 500 years ago in this case, and then there's 500 years later, there's righteous Zoram and wicked Zoram, and a whole people known as the Zoramites, and this took me probably 6 months to untangle, to figure out. It's one of the reasons I'm doing this series, is because there's just things that there's so much in this book, and you need to take time and look at it and stuff like that. I just wanted to share the gospel according to Danny. And that's it for today, guys. We'll see you next time.